CQ, CQ. Sorry, bad dad joke. Welcome everybody to our, I guess this is our October meeting. Couple of quick reminders before we get going. As we're getting near the end of the year, we will start. Dues will be coming due for those. The only thing as a club difference dues make, if you're paid dues or not to us, is if you're voting. We still welcome everybody out to our events, even if you haven't paid the dues. Next month meeting, right afterwards, we will get sent out nominations for the board. Correct me if I'm wrong, Elaine. We'll have president, vice president, and then 3 members at large. Okay, so that'll be sent out after next month, and then elections will be sent out through Ham Club Online come December, right after our Christmas party. Some important dates we got coming up. October 18th, we have JOTA. That'll be out at Eagle Island State Park from 11 to 2. For those that aren't aware, JOTA is the largest scouting event in the world. It's a jamboree on the air. So we will have hopefully have scouts from around the area joining us to try and make contact with other scouts. It's also a Pota park, so we'll be able to do Pota activations there. I think that's it I had on that. My mind just went blank. November 15th from 11 to 1 at the Napa Public Library, we will be doing a filter build. Right now that looks like we're going to be doing stub filters, coax stub filters. We'll get more details out on that as we get a little closer. December 13th at 4, we will have our Christmas party. That'll be at Golden Corral in Napa. And we will do the White Elephant gift exchange like we've done in the past. And please keep it under $25 and family friendly. Families are invited to that and all of our other events. If you have a idea or recommendation for either a real award or like they like to make fun of me as Les Taub's Customer of the Year or Goofy Awards, please email those to Kim if you have thoughts there. We are looking for nominations for Ham of the Year and Junior Ham of the Year on those. So there again, if you have thoughts, please email those over to Kim. January 24th will be Winter Field Day. That will be out at Curtis Park in Caldwell/Middleton again, like we were last year. For those who haven't already seen it, there's a survey that's gone out through Ham Club Online asking for meeting ideas, event ideas, etc. for next year as the get going, starting the planning phase. There will be no club meeting in November or December. We will have November. We will not have December or January. January falls on New Year's Day. December we typically don't have because of the large event at the Christmas party. The board meeting, I guess the best term for it, for December will be on, November will be on the typical club meeting night on the 5th. On a side note on that, anybody is welcome to attend those. Those are open. The more the merrier for better ideas and for help accomplishing things. Did I miss anything, Miss Lane? Okay, turn the time. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. That's it. I'll turn the time over to Mike.
We do have one thing that's not on my agenda. Oh, here we go. Elaine is going to do a little after-action report on the Potapalooza we did.
So this last Saturday, we had our annual Potapalooza. We had 3 people at Wilson Ponds and 6 at Lake Lowell. We could not get the 905s to work because of where we were located, but we did make some wonderful contacts. It forth between the stations. At the end, we all had a picnic at Lake Lowell. Um, During the picnic, we made more contacts, and in that contact, at the very end, we made contacts with Great Britain. 10 meters? 20 meters. I'm trying to remember. Either, huh? 20 meters. But I think fun was made by all that was there. We didn't get the shelter, so the guys at Lake Lowell had to change and not be able to use their vehicles to do their antennas. But I think overall we had a good time and made it work. And hopefully next year, we had some new people there. Tyson, thanks for coming out and joining us because it made it more fun.
So Kim is sick, and this morning I got a text whether I could present something. And what I've been doing recently is been going to Pota parks that are very close and not worrying about how far, can I talk to UK or different things. I've been using 40 meters and making contacts over mountains into the valley. The idea there being in an emergency, you care about people within your region, not people across the world. So part of the POTA is just random contacts, but for emergencies, you want to be able to talk to people that you're trying to talk to. So part of how I do that is use Facebook to say, here I am, here's my frequency, and I'm online. And then guys like John gets on, and we make contacts over mountains in very short distances so that we can get from outside the valley into the valley. So I won't read all these, but this is kind of the flow I've got. So one of the reasons that I like intentional contacts is if somebody within this club needs help, and I've got something, I'm going to bring it. But if I'm talking to just random people I don't know, we're not going to, probably we're not going to get any aid. So the idea is us getting used to talking to each other on HF over relatively short distances that doesn't rely on repeaters, doesn't rely on the grid. My example here on contacting your friends in the club is Mikey, not this last summer field day, but the one before. He came up to visit. He saw that I had battery problems, and then he drove back home. Then he drove another hour and a half up to deliver a battery to me, and then drove back home. And you're not going to get that from a stranger. You're going to get that from fellow hams that you work with and you train with. One of the second bullet is a question I've got. Should we have a NVIS net? I'm going to make it happen for the next few months, and we'll see how participation is. And I think once a month is fine. Because it involves somebody going off out of the valley enough that they're on the other side of a mountain, there's a little more commit to that than just here in town. So I'm going to try that, and I think that this Saturday I'll be doing Celebration Park again, except for camping there. And so I invite everyone who's got a 40-meter capability to watch for Facebook post on our club site, and I'll announce where I'm at on frequency, and we'll see how far across the valley I can make contacts from there. I have a elevation profile chart on a slide that'll show you just how big of a cliff that is that I was getting over, and how much there's definitely no opportunity for ground wave. There's no line of sight at all, and how the technology works. Oop, is that the wrong way? Okay, I think I've covered enough on this. Um, one idea though is the Arrow Rock Dam. I'm looking at. I've been in there and I've like no cell phone coverage, no radios, no repeater, no nothing. It's when you get in there, there's nothing. So I think after Celebration Park, I'm going to activate whatever that is. I don't know if it's the National Forest or whatever it is. I'll activate that from right at Arrow Rock Dam. And the idea is, what if we've got a spring flood kind of thing? We're in the desert, but you never know. You get a ton of snow and it starts coming down. They need somebody to be there to report on what's going on. We're inching toward a world war, it seems. What if we have to make sure nobody's bringing some ammonium nitrate and diesel drums out to the dam? We can be just observers there, just keeping a security eye on things and getting that information back to town. So NVIS propagation, near vertical incident skywave, is taking lower frequencies, so basically 40 meters, 80 meters is typically the two bands that are used, and you have a horizontally polarized antenna like a dipole, and I've been operating up at nearly a quarter wave up, but in order to optimize, basically to make it work as best you can, and run with the least amount of power, you bring that down to about 1/10 of a wavelength. So the rule of thumb for good propagation and good long-range contacts is getting your dipole up at least a quarter wave. But if you bring it down to 1/10 of a wave, instead of radiating out to the sides, it brings your radiation angle way up. And so you're putting a lot more power straight up. And because you're in one of these two bands that works out so well, a large amount of it gets reflected back down in a big cone. So if you look at the top chart, it shows normal mode, I guess. You've got the red area from the antenna is ground wave, where you're just line of sight. You could use just VHF there. And then you get the gray area where your radio wave is launching out, and it's going to hit the ionosphere and then come back down. And there's a dead zone in the middle. And NVIS eliminates the dead zone. You're not going to get outside of regional. I'm typically getting, Oregon, Washington, California, Nevada, Utah. That's typically what I get on my 40-meter antenna doing this. So it's good regional comms and also very local comms when you're trying to get up and over a mountain. So when I was doing this in the military, they said 25 watts, but I think what I'm going to do this weekend is people that I make contacts with here in the valley is start out at 100, give me a S reading, and just knock it down and knock it down and knock it down until I can say, okay, is that Yaesu FT897 that only does 20 watts, is that going to work or not? So make a chart of for 40 and 80 meters, how much power does it take to get up and over the mountain and get reliable communications? So this is an example. My friend Fred, who flies down here from Washington for field day and other things, flew down again, and we set up at Tripod Meadows at the same campsite, and I put up a mast and the antenna on the exact same place that we set up our antennas for field day out there. And if you look at the gray chart, it shows me up at Tripod Meadows, and if straight line of sight goes through all those mountains along banks, and then you can see the big dip down there is Horseshoe Bend, and then the big hill climb up and over and down into the valley. So there's clearly a lot of rock between one transmitter and the other one there. So there was no ground wave propagation at all. This was symmetrically going up in the air. And that's 50 miles away. Dave Wallace had 50 watts into an end fed, so it's like partially vertical and partially horizontal. And I got him about a S5, very readable, not full strength, but very readable. But the dipole really shone. I was 100 watts, so more power, but he was reporting back 30 dB over 9. So that's probably one of the strongest signal reports I've ever gotten. And that's just a little Yaesu FT 891 without amplification. Oh, and I put the link there. If you want to figure out what your elevation profile, that link up there is what I used. And you just basically click one place, you click the other place, double click, and it draws this for you. So that was a month or so ago. Then this last Monday, I had a day off, and so this was not 50 miles. Okay, I got to edit that slide. Oh, it didn't change, did it? There we go. Yeah, so that was not 50 miles. But again, I got Dave, and then I got John as well. So two slightly different parts of the valley. And Celebration Park, for those who haven't been there, everywhere you camp is down on the river, which is cut from the normal land, is cut down 250 feet. So you're up against, just great big rock face. And you look at this area and you say, this has got to be the worst area in the world. We're never going to get communications. But the good old dipole and 40 meters worked really well. All regional all the way around, so no problem there. So what I'm thinking about for next steps is just start making a map. Pick a direction that I haven't gone yet, get to some Pota location, make a contact, and then just start putting red dots on the map all the way around, and saying, okay, so we don't have any. There's no zone at which we can't send someone, and if there's a plane down that we're going to go and help search and rescue, if there's whatever the race event, if we find out that a repeater's down and we can't get something up high enough to support a race, if we've got enough HF operation that we could report it back into town and then back into the race headquarters, that'd be an option for us. I already talked about the reduced power. So what's the best time to use 80 meters? What part of the day? At night. But why then, when you dial around on 80 meters in the middle of the day, are there regular nets? They're doing NBIS type operations, and it's so reliable that they actually have scheduled nets, and the activity is there. You're not going to get any long range stuff. It's all going to be probably within about 300 miles. So I'm going to start adding that. And then I've got an antenna that is tuned for the lower end of the bands, that I'll make another one that's more toward the voice side. This is a quick setup. So my setups take longer. It'll take me, I'll show up, and about an hour later I'll have my mast all the way up, and I'll have a couple of the dipoles up, and I'll have them run out. It takes about an hour for me to set up. But I've got another antenna that takes a single mast, as shown down here on the bottom. You only have to go up 16 feet. So just a tripod, like a buddy pole. I've got a buddy pole tripod with mast built in that I can run the center of this dipole up 16 feet, and you come out about 30-ish feet. So basically a 40-meter part is the first part of these wire antennas. Then I've got a 72 turn on a 2-inch PVC air core coil inductor, and then another about 8 feet. And so that coil and the part past it is blocked. So it, basically 40 meters doesn't see all of that, but 80 meters does. Um, so you can have no tuner required, and you can just switch from 40 to 80 meters back and forth all you want without changing anything else in your setup. So I'm going to start playing with that. 16 feet on the dipole center, and then 23 inches is the height of the insulators, and that gets you a really, really good SWR, 1.2. But you got to pick, like for 80 meters, you're kind of stuck. You're not going to get the whole band. You have to pick. Do you want one end or the other? So I'll redesign that one for voice, because when I built it, I was working with some nets and things that were doing a lot of digital nodes. So here's an option if you don't have HF, either license or capability. This is I can't remember what the motorcycle race was, but it was southwest of Murphy, out in the desert. And the challenge there is motorcycle guys are like crazy fast and fearless, right? So how are you going to write down their number as they zoom by at 100 miles an hour? You can't. So what they do is they run them near a gully, and then they force them down into the gully, and then they put a hairpin turn at the bottom, so that, and then you have to locate yourself there, and they slow them down enough to where you can write down their number as they then rip back up and get out of there. But what does that mean? That means you're not going to get any cell coverage down in that hole. You're not going to get any repeater coverage. So what I did was I learned how to use the crossband repeat capability of my FTM 500, and it was relatively easy to set up once I watched a couple of videos. So I had my handheld on UHF, and I would key that up. It would be received by my truck, which from the same antenna, it's receiving that, then it's retransmitting it down on 2 meters, way north up to, I can't remember what repeater we were using. Then the repeater does its shift and then back down, and the finish line and net control is not down in a hole. They're where they could get easy access to that repeater. So while I was down at the bottom of this hole with a little handheld that can't go anywhere, with my truck that I parked at the top of the hill just like this, with a mast and a gain antenna, which turns out I didn't need, but you take all the tools and make sure you're going to win the comms battle, was enough that I could talk to everyone from down there. And we did have someone dump their bike and then was looking for medical help, and so we were watching for them because we were the next station. And so the medical guys were there, and they had their radios, but their radios didn't work. And they had to climb all the way up to the top in order to get out. But I could stay down and report everything from the bottom. So it made and that was back before I had my knee operation, so I wasn't going to climb any of those hills, and this allowed me to take care of that. I'm running out of slides, and you guys aren't asking questions. And I don't know how much time I got left. Okay. I think that is my last slide. Yeah. So, are you guys up for, assuming you're free, when I announce these things, either come with me out to Pota Park to set up and be on the remote side of the mountain, trying to contact different parts of the valley, or like Dave, for example, he wanted to come out to our camping trip there, but he couldn't. But he could break away for 20 minutes and make a contact there. So, is that something we can do? I hope. Okay. What time is it, by the way? took half the time that was available. Any more questions on Envis operation, on getting up and over the mountains, that sort of thing? No.
A couple of things just to throw out. I remember the Nevada QSO party one year, about 2, maybe 3 years back, and they were suggesting Invis type antennas. And I thought, oh, what a great idea. So I built one on 40 meter, and surprise, surprise, I got a contact out of EU. I never thought it was FTA, so that explains a few things. But mostly they're right there regional in that 500-mile circle, and then there's surprise. And then I used to live in Humboldt County, California, and they have a terrible time with repeaters having blind spots because of the mountainous terrain. If you've ever been out there, you know those coastal ranges have those pockets, just like you were showing on there. And a friend of mine used to be on with the emergency services, and he came up to visit, and I was telling him about Invis. I says, you guys ought to try this. But he just couldn't grasp what it meant. I don't know. I was hoping he would be able to take that back and say, hey guys, let's try this.
Any other experiences or stories of Invis operation? My start was actually down in the digital modes. There's a group that has a weekly net, and the guy who initially sends it out is up on like Boundary Counties, way up in West Canada, and they operate way down in the digital CW portion of 40 meters, and they use what's the digital modem software? FL Digi. So they use FL Digi, and they'll have like a file, and they'll load it up, and they'll click send, and it'll come across in packets of and as the initial part says, hey, we've got 32 packets, and here's the information, and then in each packet that comes with error correcting codes, and it'll go and tell you whether or not it received or didn't receive it properly. And then once you have them all, it assembles the document, and the document is there. So you can, if you're transmitting medical instructions or things where you can't get anything wrong, it's an option that does work. So Invis is not just for voice, although I love it and it's really handy. But there's a crew that does weekly nets. And if you don't decode it right, you click report, and it'll reply back and say, here's my call sign, and I need these 3 packets resent. And so they don't have to send the same thing over and over and over again. They just send what people say they missed. So that would be a neat way to do it. And I was thinking like Elaine for net control, even on 2 meters or even over repeaters, that same thing would get the entire race list, everyone's time in a table, and you hit go, and it is there, and you don't have to manually keep track of things. And when all the support crews show up and say, hey, my runner, you just show them the table and say, okay, they left the previous station 3 hours ago, and so they've probably got some, we better start looking for them, that sort of a thing. So anyway, that's all I've got as far as my technical presentation.
Did have one last question to ask, not to Mike, but to the group here. This month we had on the docket interference in hunting, and next month we had on the docket winter ops. Would you rather we slide interference in hunting to next month or cover winter ops? That was the one thought because winter ops was prepping for our last one before winter field day, so that's okay. If you have thoughts one way or the other, email us, let us know, and we'll try and figure out what we're doing. A lot depends on who's available, if somebody's still got the sniffles or not. Thank you, everybody, and for all your participation and help.